professionally trained. And this is a Black woman living and working in the U.S. South who had so many doors closed to her because of her race and gender. She was able to travel north to Boston to attend the Fannie Farmer Cooking School, where she received that professional training and then came back to New Orleans to open up eateries, her own cooking school specifically to train young African Americans in the New Orleans area so that they might have a chance of earning higher wages and building and uplifting themselves through their own culinary work. So she wasn't just a celebrity chef, as you noted, who had a really early television show in 1949, but she was also a community leader and activist, really working to uplift other Black Americans in New Orleans and across the U.S.
Yeah, her impact went well beyond the culinary world, as you mentioned there. Tell us some of her highlights as a chef.
So as a chef, I have to point out, around the time that she started her cooking school in 1937, she also started working on her own cookbook. Now, we have to keep in mind the history here of New Orleans cookbooks. The first came out in 1885, La Cuisine Creole. This was written by a white author who wasn't even from New Orleans. And it wasn't until 1939 that when she authored, her cookbook, that a Black author was finally getting out into the public recipes from her community. And so this was so significant given the importance of New Orleans and Creole cuisine in our national culture and national imagination. And it took over, 45 years for her to access those publishers in the Northeast to get out a cookbook written in the voice of a Black woman. I actually have a copy of that cookbook here. She self-published it in 1939, but in 1940, Houghton Mifflin picked up her story and was so enthralled and captivated by it that they published her cookbook for a national audience.
Yeah, and that really made a big difference, obviously, getting it to a larger crowd and making her more well-known around the country. Can you tell us some of her famous dishes? What is she most well-known for?
Yeah, so I actually just had a dinner with my family the other day, creating some of Lena Richard's recipes. She is known for her gumbo filet. She actually opened a white tablecloth restaurant in Jim Crow, New Orleans. This was very rare at the time, and she was known for her gumbo recipes there. It was called Lena Richard's Gumbo House, and this is just a fantastic, accessible recipe that uses fresh seafood from the Gulf Coast and Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans, but you can easily adapt it to kind of your local offerings. It is so delicious. I'm also a fan of her red beans and rice, another classic Creole dish, but she has over 300 recipes in her cookbook that, people can choose from. And so there's just such a variety of fantastic dishes from New Orleans, but across the United States too.
Yeah, I know, Dr. Young, you mentioned you've cooked some of her meals. Is there anything that's beginner friendly that you would recommend?
You can't go wrong with red beans and rice. It is such a wholesome dish. It really fills the body, and it's not too expensive. And so I would definitely recommend checking out that recipe. And hopefully in March, actually, we're going to do a digital program at the National Museum of American History featuring Chef Lena Richard's recipes. And hopefully we might showcase red beans and rice or gumbo perhaps. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
But this is just one program of a number of programs that we've done recently about her history that tie back to an exhibit that we recently opened at the museum. Now, I have to note we're currently closed for the safety of our staff and for the public, but we do have a digital showcasing of that exhibit. It's called The Only One in the Room, and it's about women achievers in business. Lena Richard obviously was among them. And this is actually part of the larger celebration that we are having in 2020 and 2021 at the Smithsonian, the Year of the Woman, celebrating 100 years, the 100-year anniversary of women's suffrage. And so Lena Richard is just one of these amazing women whose history that we're trying to get out to the public, who have inspired so many in their community and hopefully will continue to inspire generations of Americans now that they know her story.
Absolutely, and we have that information up on our screen. Thank you so much, Dr. Young. You really brought some interesting perspective to all of this, and I love that you guys are doing this, right? Shedding light on some of the history makers and important icons in our history. We certainly appreciate your time this morning, and wish us the best of luck cooking some of these meals, me in particular, but I love me some New Orleans dishes, so thank you.
Fabulous, thank you.
All right, Steve, I'll send it over to you.
You guys making me hungry this morning.